Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming and today's video is sponsored by the makers of Rise of Kingdoms. And in this video, I want to teach you some very important techniques for defending your city if you're going to be random porting around or potentially get imprisoned. In fact, everyone really ought to know these things about how to keep your city safe. Now, what you're watching here is something that happened right before Kingsland opened on my restart account. We did in fact win Kingsland, which is pretty exciting. And this was in Zone 6. This player, Sergeant Oliver, had random ported in, and you can see they got imprisoned, and now they're getting rallied. They do have a war frenzy, so they can't just pop a peace shield to get out of this situation. They're in it. Nothing you can do at this point, except be prepared. Now, I've talked about how to prepare for this moment in many videos, but this took place at 2 a.m. after I was defending double rallies on a pass in Call of Dragons. I logged into Rise of Kingdoms. I saw this happening, and I actually got on voice with Sergeant Oliver, and I helped him prepare to take this rally. And one of the first things I said when I got onto voice with him was, have you set a rally yet to get your low-tier troops out of your city? Now, I didn't know how many low-tier troops he had in his city. If I had actually understood this, I might have even just said, delete your low-tier troops. Actually, just delete them. Because what happens, and what most people do not know about city defense, is that your lowest tiers of troops are going to hit the hospital first, which means when your high-tier troops are then hitting the hospital or would hit the hospital, there's no room. The hospital's full and they're all dying. So you're basically keeping your low tier troops and losing your high tier troops, which is not good. So he set a rally on a barb fort, 8-hour rally, and he took a bunch of units that were low tier out of his city. Now, he didn't have a ton of low tier troops in his city, but like there's no situation where you'd rather finish this imprison and have T2s instead of T5s, right? So you get the idea here. So you rally a barb fort, get the low tier troops out of your city, and then obviously it's very important that you have a proper captain, have a talent build ready, because you will not have time to make a talent build on the fly. You need your equipment preset ready. You need your armament preset ready. You go into your commander tab. You set what commanders are going to be on your wall. Both the primary and secondary give you stats if you put them in the commander tab, so you can get a total of 2% health, 1% defense. You can also go in and set your city theme to be whatever is most optimal for defending your city. Here you can see they're now swarming him. And the final tip here is that if you make it to this part, you need to have your hospital open. Literally, I was in voice. I said, okay, open up your hospital. And I want you to be ready to push the start heal button. Have enough resources open so that after they thieve their resources, you can start the heal. He's now down to 142 million power from 157 million power. But the reason you want to start the heal is that if they're going to crazy swarm, which they might do, you really want to get off a hospital heal if you can before that crazy swarm begins. Now, all you need to do is start the process of healing, and then you can speed it up and clear them all out of your hospital while you're still getting attacked. But once your city is in combat, you can no longer initiate a heal. So you must have your hospital open, ready to push start heal, okay? Very critical, all right? So let me jump in game and show you the report and show you a few more tips and tricks here. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about what he's got to defend his city. He's got Dido primary, Hera secondary, and this is in a KVK that has the artifact option. The artifact is something you can put into an accessory slot and turn one commander type into another. So he was getting rallied by Henry with Nevsky, which makes no sense normally, except the rally lead had turned the Nevsky into an archer commander. Kind of a big deal. So he's using for his defense this Dido. He's got the T2 set helmet, T2 set chest, T1 set legs, T1 set gloves, T1 set boots, T2 set weapon. All of this is crit. He does have a horn and war drums. I would say war drums is definitely not ideal for this particular defense. The Horn is fantastic. When you're not getting swarmed, Horn is amazing. If you are getting swarmed, Horn is worthless because you're going to Rage Cap. Rage Cap is set at 220 per turn. You can't get that more rage than that. And when you're getting hit by many things, you're generating rage automatically just because lots of things are hitting you. So Horn would in that situation be irrelevant, but in the situation where you're just getting rallied is extremely valuable. One of the best things you can use, honestly. From there, I would say probably Ring of Doom would have been a better pick here. That's what I would have gone for in this instance, all right? And then as far as the armaments go here, Enrage, Spike, Hardy, and then a bunch of stats here. And like, I would say that I bet you he's got a better set if he had put in the time to maybe get it sorted out. I don't know for sure, but I would bet that you could find in your armaments a really good rainbow set somewhere. And even I have not taken the time to make that set, by the way. So for city defense, if you care about all troop types, if you have an even distribution of troop types, when I say a rainbow set, I'm saying I kind of don't care what troop stats you use. Now, the reality is that if you're using archers for your garrison as the commander, you're going to have more archer stats, which means your archers are going to live longer. And if your archers are going to live longer, then you might want to invest in even more archer stats. So just kind of doubling down on archers. It all depends on how many archers do you have in your city. Just like if you're defending a garrison and it's mixed, like, hey, do you have more of one troop in there? Focus on that. Pretty straightforward guidance. But I like things like Hardy, for example, which give health for all troop types for something like defending your city. That is really powerful. Now, on to the report. Here we go. The report. Overall, 820,000 dead for Oliver. It's hospital overflow to the 1.5 million dead for the attackers. Against the rally, I mean, the honest truth is that rally was slapping, man. 778,000 dead and 756,000 sev wounded from this particular attack. 863,000 dead for the rally. Now, obviously, the city can't get reinforcements. The rally can. So the rally is going to dominate in these sorts of situations, and it just is what it is. However, they did something smart here when they were rallying, which is that they used one troops to eat area of effect damage. Now, they also happen to get hit by shocking amounts of area of effect damage, which is why that dead count is really, really high. I mean, look at this, 118,000 deads on that Trajan. So obviously, you want to rally from a different alliance than the one that everybody is in that's going to be around the player that's getting rallied. The same is true for rallying a garrison in Rise of Kingdoms. Like if you're hitting a flag, you're hitting a fort, you're hitting a pass, right? Like you want, generally speaking, the players that are going to be around that structure to be in a different alliance so they don't get completely wrecked by AoE, all right? So this goes on for quite a while. These one troops are valuable, again, because they reduce the area of effect damage of Hera. For each additional target, you deal less damage. Do I think it should work this way with one troops? No, I don't. But does it work this way with one troops? Yes, it does. So if you have a city nearby, it's just correct to be running out these one troops, which makes it a little tricky to find, like, oh, here's people swarming the city. That is right, by the way. He did get swarmed at the end. So like some of these guys swarming still took a pretty non-trivial number of deads. I mean, okay, this is pretty trivial, but like you add it all up, 12 people take that. I don't know. That's how we get to our total number here. All right. The basically 2-for-1 trade in favor of Oliver, even though he's on an island all on his own. Okay. He did a pretty good job here, but what could he have done to minimize his dead troops? If we go in and we look at these units, we can see here where the problem was. And it's that these low tier troops are eating up space in the hospital when you wouldn't even want them. So the T1 archers and cavalry and infantry, presumably those were picked up at some point from just, little exploration points around the map. And then you just like forget to upgrade them. It's very like easy to get in that situation. 289,000 tier 1 siege. This, by the way, is after he set a rally with like 400,000 plus low tier units out of his city. There's actually a special place in your hospital for 50,000 tier 1 siege units, but not for 289,000. So you can see here that 254,000 were slightly wounded. And it looks like, actually, this is not so bad. 36,000 were sev wounded. I wonder if any of these even made it into his hospital at all. This might have been okay. Actually, I mean, this is not nearly as bad as I thought it would be for low tier troops. now that I'm looking at the numbers here, sev wounded, slight wounded, this is not as bad as I thought it would be. But they all did get slightly wounded really fast. And actually, I think he was okay. I actually think he didn't really end up with that many low-tier troops in his hospital, right? Like, at the end of this, he's got 35,000 T4 siege, about 18,000 T2 siege. And if this all went to the special 50K allotment, this is all fine. But, we are talking about, what is this? A little over 50,000 T4s that he kept instead of having T5s. But thank goodness he sent all those low tier troops out of his city with a rally. That actually, like, now that I'm looking at this more closely, that really makes a difference. Okay, great. So from here, you can see that he is a primarily archer city, but honestly, this is pretty even between all the troop types. So the Hera is obviously fantastic. And when you pick something to defend your city as the primary, I mean, you basically at this point want to go with your best set of equipment. And that to me feels more important than a leadership set, unless you've actually been meaningfully working on a leadership set to have, a commensurate number of iconics, crits, tiers, etc. Then obviously leadership is amazing and you might want to run the leadership commander as the primary. But very few people have done that. Very few people have done that. And it seems more and more that leadership is not even really intended for mixed garrisons in strongholds such as flags or forts or passes, but more intended for city defense, right? Lapu Lapu has shown us he's really designed to defend your city. So this piece of the report is very important. Also, we can look over here, the troop buffs. This is an important part of the report as well. You can see here that the artifact was used to switch Nevsky over to an archer commander for the rally with the Henry Nevsky combo, which is very powerful. Now, technically, you can have the artifact on Hera as well. The artifact gives you a small stat boost. That would not represent in here because you're not actually changing any of the troop typing because this is all kind of universal on Hera. All right. And so all stats are valuable in this particular defense. If we look at the all damage here, there is a non-trivial difference in the all damage. So I wonder if that is a crystal technology difference, or it could be honestly just come from the armaments. I think it might be crystal tech related, but I'm not entirely sure offhand. And I think that covers Sergeant Oliver's city defense. I mean, the TLDR here is that actually, okay, having this number of low-tier troops was not so bad, right? But I think in an ideal world, what you would like to do is have none of these low-tier troops, really at all. And it's understandable why you might have siege if you haven't had the opportunity to kill them yet in your KVK. And in most cases, right, you're not really trying to reinforce siege. I think it's actually smart to find a garrison where you can very early in KVK. I didn't do that this time around. I wish I had, just to get rid of those first. In a time for example, a pass where it's pretty stable. It's just a troop killing grind for days in a row. You might want to get rid of those. But if you didn't, setting that rally and just getting the T5 siege and T4 siege out of there is pretty good. But overall, actually not so bad. In terms of troops that were in his hospital that he might not have wanted, right? You got a little bit of T5 siege, a little bit of T4 siege, a little bit of T2. Not nearly as many as I actually had thought that was going to be. Now, in case you hadn't seen the special place in your hospital for T1 siege, you see the battering ram zone. There it is. That's where your battering rams go. Now, there is one other thing you can do if you're really serious about protecting your troops, and this is almost certainly worth the gems if you had to spend them. But honestly, you should just use a civ swap. I'm serious. I think it's just correct, but let's go look at this, okay? So if we look at the civilizations you could use, you could switch to Byzantium. Seems kind of silly, but 15% more hospital capacity. I think that ends up being isn't it 30,000 more capacity for your hospital? I think that's the number. Maybe it's 45,000, but 15% extra hospital capacity ends up being extremely meaningful here because, you think about what would it cost me to train up T5 troops? If that number's 30,000, right? What would it cost me in gems to train up 30,000 tier 5 troops? Not a small number. right? Like it's 2,800 without any buffs for 2,000. So you could make an argument that even if you had to pay gems for the Civ swaps, it might be worth making that little change. Oh yeah, okay, I did have that right. It is 300,000. So 75 times 4, right? That's your 300,000. So it will be 45,000 extra capacity with the extra 15%. I think it ends up being worth it, strictly speaking, but I don't know. I mean, you could do it, you could not do it. It's like kind of fine either way. If you think you're going to be getting multiple hospital clears, all of a sudden that is insanely valuable, right? For one hospital clear, whatever, but multiple hospital clears, undebatably the way to go. I'm so glad I actually did that little bit of math real quick, like, because when you realize that, like, okay, 45,000 extra T5 troops that I could save, okay, one-time value, but like you can get speed ups in more valuable ways than obviously just gemming troops without any buffs like I was looking at doing there. But it's definitely value with those multiple hospital clears. Okay. Yeah, if you're gonna get crazy swarmed, you better have switched civs. And like, you have to do that, by the way, with an empty hospital to switch civs, and you have to speed up your troop training buildings to switch civs, and you can't have any troops out of your city, so you have to do that before you set the 8-hour rally. If you're gonna be crazy swarmed, that Byzantium swap is actually insanely valuable. And the lower power you are, the more likely it even is that they just can't even kill any of your troops at all if you're getting off heals, if with a higher hospital capacity, especially in KVK. Like right now I have 720,000. If I could put another 45K on top of that, hey, yo, that doesn't even include, by the way, other things like that I don't think you really should get, but there are tides here that increase your hospital capacity. By this one, I could do 30%, but this is a specific KVK, and now I've gone off the deep end. I can show you, by the way, we've got Kingsland locked up, which is pretty exciting. Pretty fun fight on the restart account. Right over here, baby. Right over here. We didn't really get to use as much Attila as I thought we would, quite frankly, but I did send 8 million power worth of my troops to die on this one flag. It was all infantry. Attila freaking slaps, bro. It's Gorgo with Attila, and use the artifact to change Attila around to be infantry. You could also run this the other way, and it's like really powerful, but this just freaking decimates swarmers, man. But anyways, this video is long enough. If you enjoyed it, throw a like on here, consider subscribing. If you want to see me fighting in this Kingsland, card will be in the end screen. It was very, very fun. Congratulations to our allies and also enemies. Like really well fought. They are really, really exceptional, and like we will be fortunate to have them as allies in a future KVK if we had the opportunity. So these kingdoms were really, honestly great. Dang. All right, I got to get back at it, man. Until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.